Story 1. This has never happened to me, but I am sure I would love it because it would be nice for someone to actually show interest in me. Story 2. I am a 32-year-old man. I do not ever ask women out because I do not want to be a bother. I take seriously all the shared experiences that women have offered about the male gaze and unwanted advances, but that also means I have anxiety about being unwantedly forward in general, so I just do not. The one time I was approached by a woman was one of the best feelings in the world because I felt wanted and appreciated. Story 3. This has only happened to me once or twice, but it is truly one of the greatest things that can happen to a person. Story 4. It makes me feel like a god among men. Someone wants me. Sure, she might not be right in the head or has poor eyesight, and I will find a way to mess it up, but I will still enjoy that ego boost. Thank you very much. Story 5. Suspicious and slightly aroused. I would probably play hard to get until I either dispel the suspicions or accept. Story 6. Typically, men are straightforward and direct, while women often speak in cryptic riddles and do not explicitly state what they mean. When both sides are straightforward and direct, it prevents 90% of the communication problems that would otherwise arise. Story 7. That's how my partner and I came to be. I was in dad mode for a few years, raising 2 kids by myself for the past 8 years. I had a few relationships but was single for 2 years. I was working hard, making sure these 2 kids stayed happy and alive. I was a regular customer at her job. She was fairly new, and over a few months we started chatting a bit. One day, she began saying, "Hi, handsome," every time I came in. I thought she was just a friendly person. A few months later, it literally took her asking for my number for me to realize what was happening. She jokes about it all the time, but I never assume a woman likes me just because she is friendly. According to her, I get hit on daily, but I don't see it. All in all, 10 out of 10 would recommend. Some of us men are just grinding through life, not worried about relationships, but we're not against them. We just have things to do. Story 8. Depends on what game we are playing. Checkers and chess are not generally a big deal. Yahtzee is a little apprehensive because she could roll a Yahtzee, have loaded dice, and so on. Story 9. I have felt great, actually, and that is what I like. Also, girls should know that guys are usually more lenient. Story 10. I explicitly use this as my gauge. I tend to miss a lot of girls because of it. Keeps me safe from any type of accusations. The girl I am currently seeing literally crawled into my bed when I was asleep and put my arms around her because I did not want to presume I was allowed to touch or caress her yet. Still am not. Story 11. I would love it because I am too anxious and awkward to do it. Also, I feel like people will see me as creepy if I ask someone out or flirt with them. Story 12. Was it a legal first move? How was it determined? Like a coin flip or something? I need to know because different games have different rules. Oh my. Story 13. I like it. It is how my wife and I started dating. We both worked at the same restaurant. She would pick up shifts and switch shifts with others just so she could work with me. Eventually, she asked me out for coffee, and we kissed at the end of the date. Now we are happily married and have a beautiful daughter. Story 14. Suspicious. Am I interpreting this correctly? Is she actually talking to me and not someone behind me? Is she trying to sell me something? Once I have eliminated a few dozen other reasons that it could be happening, I eventually land on, wow. But by then, she has moved on. Story 15. I have not been on the market for over 20 years. Every successful relationship I was ever in happened because she got tired of waiting for my oblivious self and took matters into her own hands. Story 16. I am a firm believer that I would still be single today if my wife had not asked me out. I had such a paralyzing fear of rejection that I could not bring myself to talk to anyone romantically. It helped that she was almost as nervous as I was about the whole thing. Since then, I have grown a lot, and now I am flattered when it happens, but I always lead with the fact that I love my wife. Story 17. Desired, flattered, and attractive. It is awesome, especially as someone who gets very nervous and anxious. Story 18. It has already happened, but I will let you know in 2.8 years when my mind has finished processing the event that occurred. Story 19. I know I would love it if it did happen. I refuse to pick up on hints for the chance that she is just being nice and I misread her intentions. I do not want hints and games. Being straightforward is very attractive. Story 20. I felt very foolish several hours later when I realized what she was trying to do. I had just thought she wanted to hang out. Story 21. A strong woman takes action, and I think it is admirable when someone does. This encourages many hesitant men. Furthermore, in society, it is often more acceptable for women to do nothing, regardless of their reasons, while men face pressure to act, and if they do not, they are judged negatively. Story 22. I have no problems with it. It shows me she is truly interested and not just going through the motions of pleasantries. I find it refreshing and a nice change of pace in the dating scene. Story 23. It was great until about 20 years later when she made the first move on others and a divorce occurred. Story 24. If I have a crush on her, it feels great. If I am not interested in her, I feel bad and try to let her down as nicely as possible. Story 25. The only way I have ever gotten a girlfriend feels more real when it is her doing it. To be fair, I have only had 2 real girlfriends, but I will take that over making a pass and either just getting rejected or worse, getting into trouble. Story 26. She kissed my cheek first while hugging goodbye. This was my cue that it was okay to kiss her the very next day. So, there are no issues with girls taking the first move. That way, you know what she actually wants instead of playing mind games. Story 27. I prefer it. I know women prefer that men do it, but I have a lonely mind, so I can never tell if it is flirting or just chatting, regardless of how spicy it may get. Story 28. Happened and is happening to me. As someone not used to getting noticed, this sudden storm of attention and being wanted feels awkward but also feels good. The question is not really how we will reciprocate, but at what intensity, because we are still men and still need to make sure we are not crossing boundaries. Story 29. At first, I was confused. I have pretty low self-esteem. After that, I would go on at least one date to see if we are compatible and attracted to each other. Story 30. It never happened to me, but if it did, it would make me happy. It is so hard trying to figure out if someone is interested in you or simply being nice. Story 31. The popular response on Reddit is that they love it, but for me, it gives me the same anxiety I bet many women feel when a man approaches them. If I were interested in her, I guess it would be great, but I do not want to be the one to have to reject someone. Story 32. It depends on what prompted it. After a really good date, sure, that is attractive. Out of nowhere, it can be kind of confusing and even off-putting. Story 33. I love it. I love when a woman shows she is interested in me. It makes things easier and removes the guessing if she is into me. Story 34. The few times it has happened, I loved it. It was a nice surprise and helped me feel desired with my partner. Story 35. I am very average and I live in a developing country where people are still more traditional in terms of gender roles and expectations for the most part. We are not in the Middle Ages, but I hope you understand my point. This has never happened to me. Story 36. It is nice and reassuring. Sometimes we have doubts. Once the doubt is gone, I like to take charge again. When the intention is clear, you know what to do without hesitation. Story 37. I say to myself, she must really have nothing better to do. But I welcome the company all the same. It is nice to be seen. Story 38. Awesome. When my spouse initiates anything, I am all on board. Sometimes it is nice to be the one being romanced and seduced. Story 39. It's like the feeling you had back in school when everyone lined up to pick teams, and you were the person chosen first. Story 40. Probably the same as when the roles are reversed. Flattered but good if I am not into her. Excited if I am into her. Story 41. I would love it. We all talk about consent, and it does not get any clearer than that. A relationship should be a shared experience, not one side taking all the risks. That said, few couples really know who made the first move. Let's say it was a kiss. Is the one who leaned in the person who made the first move? Or is it the one receiving it who made sure the situation was right and sent signals all night that a kiss would be accepted? Story 42. preferred and should be normalized more in society these days. Otherwise, I will not have any clue that you are into me, no matter how good you think your hints are. I am also too afraid to make the first move or ask anyone out, even though I like them. Story 43. Similar to a random compliment, it happens so rarely. I have only been floored and completely flattered when I get asked out. Story 44. Makes me think either hell has frozen over or I will be waking up soon. Seriously, it is awesome. Takes the guesswork out of everything. Story 45. Surprised and flattered. It is rare, but it is very welcome. I am partially suspicious because I assume it is a prank. Story 46. All of my relationships have started that way. It is the only way it works for me, to be honest. I am too anxious and unwilling to come across as a creep, weirdo, or that guy who thinks a girl being nice is actually interested in me. My wife made all the moves. We often joke about it. I told her I was completely unsure if she was interested in me until her hands were down my pants. Story 47. I get very excited and think to myself it is going to happen. Then I start acting that way and they get turned off every time. Story 48. I would be extremely flattered provided I had realized she made a move on me, which was about 2 years after the events. Story 49. I would not be able to tell. It would go right over my head for sure. Story 50. On dating apps, it can be helpful because many profiles are very basic. A couple of pictures and I like coffee, my dog, the beach, and a book. If there is nothing for me to connect with, I am not interested. If someone contacts me after reading my profile, I can assume they found something interesting about me. However, for the likes I have received and swiped to match, they never reply, so I have to assume every like was a drunk swipe. In person, I would be unaware if a woman was making a pass at me. If she asked for my phone number, I would likely think she was trying to sell me siding, solar panels, or an extended car warranty. Story 51. I smile and nod, making it awkward. It takes her a great deal of effort to see past the anxiety and truly see me. Story 52. Love it. Love it. If you are flirting, I will literally have no idea. I will genuinely just think you are being nice and friendly. You could undo a couple of your buttons, and I would be like, oh, she must be feeling warm in here. So when you make the first move, it's frickin' magic. Story 53. The relief of not having to feel like a burden on everyone around me to pay close attention in case of assault is hard to put into words, let alone the confidence boost that comes with it. Story 54. It has only happened a few times, and once I was not even single, so I could not fully embrace the feeling. But it is amazing. I am riding the high for weeks. Story 55. I really like it. Even if I am not interested in them, as long as they are not being too creepy, I really enjoy feeling desired. Not many women do it, and I usually feel safe since I am a tall man. If I am being honest, even if I am being objectified or if she is being too aggressive, I still kind of like it. If I were a woman and had to deal with that throughout my life, I would obviously hate it. Story 56. My partner made the first move. It was fine with me. I preferred it that way. I had always gotten it wrong in the past and was a bit shy about it anyway. She actually messaged me through Facebook Messenger and was really anxious because I was working and didn't reply for a while. I know her from a pub I frequented where she worked. She is really shy too, I would say more than me, but she made the first move. It has worked out great. Story 57. It's nice. It makes you feel attractive. It is usually not the type of girl you want, though, at least in my experience. Story 58. I appreciate it because I am terrible at picking up on signs and afraid of jumping to the wrong conclusions. I have only ever made the first move when I was completely certain that it was welcome. Most of my past relationships were with women who made the first move. Story 59. Depends on who it is. Do I know her? Do I see her as a friend? Is she my type? How many people has she killed? Story 60. Happened to me once. I was young and did not have the courage to flirt back. My biggest blunder to this day. Story 61. I will let you know if it ever happens. My prediction is that I would be very happy if my answer was yes, but if for any reason I felt the need to turn her down, I would want to die. Story 62. I like it. These days, I just feel like a stalker even complimenting someone. So, if someone actually approaches me, I feel like they really must be interested, and it boosts my confidence. Story 63. Love it. Most of my high school girlfriends made the first move, including one I ended up living with at 17. Story 64. Confused. Ashton Kutcher is going to pop out around the corner with a camera crew at any time. Surely. Story 65. Impossible that it will happen to me, so I will first think I am dreaming and then assume it is a prank. Story 66. I definitely think it is something women should consider doing more. My girlfriend and I met at a local punk show. Another man was trying to flirt with her and did not notice her lack of interest. I was there minding my own business. Eventually, she started a conversation with me to get the other man to leave her alone. That led to her asking me for my number, which then developed into the most loving, wonderful, and incredible relationship either of us have ever had. Now we are planning to get married and build a life together. If she had never started talking to me or asked for my number, our lives would be completely different for the worse. Story 67. Having always been the person who made the first move, I would appreciate it if a girl made the first move for a change. Story 68. Cartoon birds circle around my mind with their morning chorus, closely followed by miniature Admiral Akbars whispering those immortal words. Story 69. I am married to someone who mutually liked me on OkCupid back in 2016. I saved her to favorites because she is gorgeous, and I also found her intimidating since her profile was about 70% focused on working out, which I do not do. Generally, my strategy was to send a message if I could think of something funny or interesting referencing their profile, and to save them to favorites if I could not or just found the proposition too intimidating. I noticed her profile again in 2018 and thought, idiot, what was I waiting for? I sent her a straightforward message referencing food she mentioned in her profile. We went on a first date that Friday. I proposed 10 months later, and we got married 14 months after that. I later learned that she never makes the first move. I mean, she also did not have to. I usually made the first move on dating sites, but I was lucky enough to get a couple of messages and a couple of likes a day, and I always appreciated it because it removed that step for me and made it clear they had enough interest to message first. Story 70. It is nice to feel wanted and noticed. First moves from women are often half-hearted compared to men's, but since it is so ingrained for women not to make the first move, I appreciate it when they try to break the rules. Story 71. If you are interested in a girl, there is a rush you instantly feel. Aside from that, it is just a great feeling. Whether anything comes of it or not, it will definitely give you a confidence boost, and it will be a moment you will not forget. For most guys, it is a very rare experience, so it will definitely be a memory that sticks. It will also make the following days feel better because knowing you were genuinely wanted by someone will improve how you feel. Story 72. I like women who clearly communicate what they want and do not believe it is a fault of my masculinity that I cannot read their minds. Story 73. Yes, I actually prefer it because, while I think I know the signs, I have definitely been mistaken before. Story 74. 13 years ago, she messaged me on a site called OkCupid. We have been together ever since. She is the best thing to ever happen to me. Story 75. That situation happens every 10 years or so for me, and I fumble each time. I am pretty sure I will be dead before it happens again. Story 76. I am sorry, but I have a girlfriend. Thanks for making someone feel good about himself, though. Seriously, using that line on women is odd but not done with ill intent. It is strangely satisfying. Story 77. It feels great, or it can be confusing if she is actually making a move because she is much more attractive than you. Story 78. Oblivious unless she is making it very clear. Even then, I will probably assume I am just imagining it. Story 79. I would like that. I have never been good at starting conversations or approaching people. Plus, it would be nice to have someone who wants to get to know me. Story 80. Frankly, I never make the first move. I am never comfortable enough, and it usually happens anyway on her request. Luckily, my girlfriend is my girlfriend, so I do not have to worry about that anymore. Story 81. I don't consider myself very attractive. I am about 80 to 90 pounds heavier than is healthy for my height. I am very shy and have a slight speech impediment. My sister was showing her friends pictures of our other sister's newborn, and one of her friends, who is very pretty, saw me holding the baby. She said I was cute and looked a lot like what she imagined her ideal partner would look like. I reached out to her after this. We started talking, but since we live on opposite coasts, it will be a while before we can meet. I do not know if this will turn into anything, but this is the most confident I have felt about a relationship in years. Story 82. Well, I used the line, "It looks like you lost your best friend," and it lasted over 20 years. 29 years ago this week we met. Too bad he died 6 years ago after we had a life and 2 children together. Story 83. In my experience, they are the only 2 that I kept coming back to and truly loved. I never noticed that until I pondered your question. Story 84. What the men here won't tell you is that it completely matters how attractive the girl is. It is no different from when a guy makes the first move on a girl. Story 85. I, a 36-year-old female, sometimes make the first move to ask a man out on a date if I meet him on dating applications. They mostly just ignore me or end the connection when I do. I have only had one man recently who actually agreed and showed up to the date. Story 86. It would literally make the world a better place. There is no argument against it. Everyone should feel encouraged to make the first move. Story 87. My wife claims this happens to me a lot, but I have never noticed. In respect to women, my wife basically has to tell me we are dating. Story 88. I dated a girl who did this to me on our second date. She grabbed my arm as we were walking through a museum and started lightly rubbing it with her fingernails. I became aroused almost immediately, stopped caring about the exhibits, and got us back to her place as fast as I could. We immediately made out once her front door closed and ended about an hour later. In other words, it made my mind fixate on sexual activities until I reached orgasm a few hours later. It was very difficult to keep myself under control until then. Story 89. I wonder how much this depends on culture or personal history. Some men love it while others seem intimidated. Story 90. I either appreciate it or am suspicious because I do not have a high opinion of myself. So, a girl making the first move in such a way that I notice is too good to be true. Story 91. I really admire girls who take the initiative, even if they face rejection. As gatekeepers to relationships, going out to get what you want is attractive. If a girl approaches me and says, "Right, you and I are going out this Saturday," I am instantly more interested in her. However, if I have a partner, I will tell her that I am off the market and use that as a small confidence boost. Because, let's face it, no one approaches me. Story 92. In my experience, nothing makes a man lose interest faster than beating him to the punch. I really do not know why, but you can be having a good old chat, getting along well, say you would like to get to know each other better, ask if he wants to do something the next day, and then just get ghosted. I have never understood why, especially when everyone in these posts talks about it like a god descending from heaven. Reality and Reddit are just different. Story 93. Flattered. When I receive choosing signals such as looks, stares, and smiles, I feel warm and appreciated for being desired. I welcome this because it removes the guesswork of whether to act or not. Story 94. Not trying to show off, but in many of my encounters with women, they have made the first move, and to be honest, at least for me, it makes breaking the ice a lot easier. I think it is much easier to approach a man to talk than the other way around. Story 95. I have been married for 16 years. I am the one to make the first move 90% of the time. Yesterday, the kids went out with some friends for a while, and my wife said to me, "Do you want to have a quick moment together?" Absolutely, yes, I do. And we did. It was great. Story 96. Awkward because she was a total stranger crying about the breakup she had half an hour earlier, and I had to convince her that this kind of rebounding was a very bad idea. Story 97. I love it when women are proactive when it comes to intimacy. I have lived in various Western states over the last decade, and the women in New Mexico, for whatever reason, have this as their modus operandi. I loved every minute of it. Story 98. I've had it happen once physically. She just grabbed me mid-conversation and kissed me. It was a top life experience. I doubt it will ever happen again. Story 99. I feel very fortunate. This started happening to me in elementary school and has continued ever since, even at the age of 67. It never gets old. It helps take away some of the stings of aging. Story 100. On top of the world. A woman who knows what she wants and has the confidence to get it is so attractive. Story 101. I would rather have that. It sounds nice to be chosen, to have a near-infinite pool of men in the world, but out of all of them, she chose me in this hypothetical situation. That sounds magical. Story 102. If it is inappropriate, it is gross, but if it is subtle, I would smile and go talk to her. I will respond kindly without being avoidant in the future and without hesitation. However, most of those who make the first move touch my thighs and crouch quickly. Story 103. Totally depends on the guy. In my youth, I was considered a good-looking guy. In summer, I lifeguard during the day and tended bar at night at a nice resort. I did some modeling for a major skiing sportswear line in winter. I constantly got hit on by drunks, women aged 18 to 55 at the bar. The problem was I was a shy kid in my 20s. I like to think I was raised right regarding male and female relations and had a girlfriend who shared my faith. Some women could get very ugly when rejected, as if I had no right to say no. That type of behavior leaves marks, if you know what I mean, and I never liked it. I think it made me rather rude at times just to avoid the attention. On the other hand, my wife made the first move, but we had known each other for years and I was comfortable with her. She was not heavily intoxicated when she did. On another hand, my buddy Craig loved it. He had absolutely zero respect for women and probably accrued a list of antibiotic prescriptions that helped pharmaceutical companies' bottom line many years. To each his own, I guess. Story 104. That is a major turn on, not sexually but because of the reverberation when women take the lead. I learned it from the guy I was with. Story 105. If it was like hints or something, it would go so far over my head that the hint would scrape the surface of the moon. If it was direct, I would be very confused. I mean, take the worst-looking aspects of Daniel DeVito and Patton Oswalt and add a layer of homeless appearance to it, and you have a rough idea of what I look like. Story 106. That does not really happen. If it did happen, it would feel flattering but also cause anxiety because I would be unsure of what to do. If it were someone I was not attracted to, I would feel sorry to have to let her down. If it were someone I was attracted to, I would feel anxious about what next step to take and whether I could trust her because, again, this is something that does not really happen. Story 107. Clueless. I am autistic. Unless you come up to me and say, I like you a lot and want to date you, every single hint will go over my head. If a lady did do that though, I would be so happy I could not keep it together. Story 108. The answer to your question is the same as when a girl is approached by a guy. If it is a confident, attractive man, there is a wave of shyness and disbelief. If it is an average man, there is usually a story about a stranger who called her and may now stalk her. What they say and do does not matter. Story 109. To quote the ancient text, a meme I remember, I would date a tree if it were to make the first move. Story 110. It is a disadvantage when she plays white, but you can compensate if you have a good repertoire of defenses built up. Story 111. Every time a girl makes the first move on me, she turns out to be a player and is talking to several guys at once. I do not associate with girls who make the first clear move. It is not how things have to go. Story 112. It depends a bit. If she is cute, then yay. But I have had to gently turn down a girl to whom I was completely not attracted, and that kind of sucks because I do not want to be the person who crushed her heart. My wife of 22 years made the first move, so yay. She pretty much surprised me with her handbag and dragged me off. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.